Three truths haunt the Imperium. First, the Emperor's silence. Second, his psychic walls hold the warp. Third, the nameless horror trapped within. Two lie. Older than the gods, second Emperor, sealed by third force of will the alone. Third, but a star's tomb, and they burn. They a burn cage for the void dragon, a thing that preys on realities. Remember, two lie. The Emperor's mind is not just a throne, it is a crypt. Every soul fed to the Astronomicon, every psyker silenced, fuels barriers older than the warp. The Imperium stands not just against chaos, but against a nameless abyss. They call it the Anathema Psykana. A leviathan gnawing at the fabric of existence. The Emperor's will is its chain. Should it snap, the void devours not just humanity but the stars themselves. What if the Imperium's gods are not saviors, but wardens of the unspeakable? The Emperor's silence is not empty. The Anathema Psykana, that labyrinth of psychic fire, coils around the golden throne like a noose. Mortally wounded at Terra, his mind became a vault, its locks forged in the siege's blood. The Astronomicon burns with stolen lives, psychers devoured to keep the warp from spilling. But what if their deaths fuel a deeper chain? The Imperium speaks of chaos, of heresy. It does not whisper the truth. The entity trapped within the Emperor predates even the Dark Age. Older than the throne, older than the word of the God Emperor. Each sacrifice tightens the bind, each pulse of the Astronomicon a dirge for what lies coiled in the void between his thoughts. The Adeptus Mechanicus drill for knowledge in his skull. They find only echoes. The Emperor does not speak to Guilliman. Does not guide the Imperium's hand. His silence is a dam, and dams, even of Godfire, erode. What if the Imperium's foundation is not salvation? What if it is a body, a cage, and the thing inside has not yet slept? The storm of psionic lightning above the Astronomicon crackles, with a scent of ozone and burnt copper. The sanctum of St. Dorn, where 10,000 psychers are laid to rest yearly, hums with the resonance of their final screams each death, a harmonic note in a symphony older than the Emperor himself. Beneath the golden throne, the air grows colder with every passing cycle. Frost creeps across the obsidian floor where his shadow lingers. The custods who stand vigil swear they've seen it tremble once, just once, when the sacrificial bell tolled at the fall of Cadia. A novice psycher's last breath tastes of iron. Their minds are not extinguished but unraveled, threads of willpower weaving into the Astronomicon's lattice. The Imperial Tech Oracle who oversees the rite once claimed the Emperor's voice was a pressure against the skull, like a heartbeat in reverse. When the boy's consciousness dissolves, the room's temperature drops 6 degrees, and the oracles shiver, their robes crackling with static. The containment fields ripple. Not to suppress the warp, but to keep asterisk at asterisk buried. The custods who guard the lower vaults whisper of a hunger that predates the Horus heresy. A voice that murmurs in the cracks of the throne's plating. One among them, a captain with bloodstone eyes, wonders if the Emperor's stillness is a mask. If his silence is the price of holding back a thing that once devoured stars. The storm above the Astronomicon never fades. It pulses rhythmic and patient, a heartbeat. The storm above the Astronomicon pulses steady, deliberate, a heartbeat not of the warp but something buried deeper. The Council of Nicaea sealed psychic power behind iron laws, a purge masquerading as purity. Magnus the Red in absentia screamed that silence is a prison. His heresy was not defiance but a warning. A Black Library Codex notes the Red's final gambit. He sought not power but release. For what if the Emperor's own mind is the same shroud? His psychic barriers, the Imperium's edicts, both chains. Both meant to hold back a leviathan older than the segmentum solar. The Anathema Psykana is not an aberration, it is a mirror. The Emperor's sacrifice was not on the golden throne. It was in the moment he chose to bind himself, to let his consciousness become a cage. The same force the Imperial truth now smothers, the same force the Red tried to unshackle. The psychic ban is not just against chaos. It is against the thing the Emperor swallowed. White dwarf archives hint at Nicaea's true aim, to sever all connection to the unknown. A policy echoing the throne's own silence. The Emperor's whispers to Guilliman, a glitch, a crack in the seal. If the Red was right, the Imperium's survival depends on keeping that seal intact, on letting the thing in the Emperor's skull remain forgotten. What if the Emperor's greatest war is not against chaos but against his own unraveling? The storm pulses, the chains hold for now. The vault's cold bites sharper, no a metallic tang in the air, like rusted steel. Beneath the Emperor's psychic hum, another rhythm pulses, slower, feral. It thrums in the bones of the Mechanicus who guard these halls, though they mistake it for the null zone's static. Long before his golden sarcophagus, before the fall, the Emperor bled ink-black blood in an obsidian chamber near the Taurus Mountains. There shamans wove their dying breath into his sinews, their final whispers not prayers but warnings. One clutched his face, eyes clouded with the sight. Asterisk, you will drown in what you carry. Asterisk, his body turned to ash. His voice remains a fossil in the Emperor's mind. The containment fields are no mere cage for chaos. They are a dam, and the thing behind it has no name. Its hunger is the void left by the shamanic deaths, the same void the Astronomican feasts upon. When the Emperor kneels in the Astronomican's light, it is not to commune with stars. It is to starve the Leviathan within him, to let his own children's hopes burn as kindling. Gilliman's visions, not divine guidance. Echoes of a war fought in silence, a prisoner pitted against a prisoner. The temperature drops, the vault's lights flicker. For a breath, the Emperor's face twitches not in pain, but recognition. A memory not his own, a time before Anatolia, before man, when something ancient slithered into the cradle of his soul. The chains hold. The storm pulses, but the whisper returns, softer this time. Asterisk, you are not the jailer, you are the key. Asterisk. He outlawed the sacred, yet now the sacred outlaws him. The great crusade silenced prayers, but the Emperor's tomb thrums with them. His divinity is no ascension, it is a lockdown. The containment fields warp not just chaos, but a weight older than his name. The Imperium's hymns are not praise, they are pressure seals, every creed a shackle, every icon a pressure valve. They fear what stirs beneath his borrowed title. The truth is too bright, too black, to speak it is to let it breathe. And so they kneel not to a god but to a silence that screams, the Emperor's final sacrifice, not to mankind, to the void. He buried the primordial not in his mind but in its place, and the cage it waits for the key, 163 words. The cage's key is not a relic, not a device, it is the Emperor's silence itself. The Astronomican's sacrifices fuel the psychic locks. The Anathema Psykana starves the entity of new minds to corrupt. The Council of Nicaea's ban was never about purity, it was quarantine. The Emperor's mind is not a throne, it is a tomb. What lies within, no name endures. The ancient force predates even the dark age of mutation. It is not chaos, it is the rot beneath chaos. The Imperium's foundation is not order, it is a wound dressed in dogma. Every psyker executed, every navigator's path plotted, every saint burned, these are not sins. They are maintenance. The Emperor's silence is the final seal. He does not whisper to Gilliman, he cannot, his thoughts are not his own, his body the throne, his voice the void. The Imperium's survival hinges on this unspoken truth. Humanity's God is not a savior, he is the last custodian of a cosmic plague. The galaxy spins on a razor's edge, the warp writhes, the entity waits. And the Emperor in his silence holds the weight of what came before. What if the greatest heresy is the belief that the Emperor serves humanity? What if he was never the architect, only the anvil, the hammer? The sacrifice, the cage it waits, for the key, for the end. 244 words. The air in the golden throne chamber reeks of ozone and burnt flesh, a scent the Emperor has not registered in millennia. His fingers twitch against the rusted mechanisms, each movement a shackle groaning. On Isven Roman 3, the first drop of Horus blood drew the entity near, a whisper in the static between stars, a warmth in the void. The traitor's corona glowed not with loyalty, but with the same fevered hue as the Emperor's psychic prisons. The 13th Black Crusade was no mere rebellion. When the great rift yawned above Thalnisha, its mar exhaled a heat older than the segmentum, scorching the stars to violet. The Crusaders did not choose chaos, they were chosen. Their screams fed the thing dormant in the throne's core, a hunger the Emperor has starved but never silenced. He feels it know a tremor in the Astronomican's light, a faltering rhythm in the children's minds. The warp storms grow restless not from chaos but from containment, a crack in the prison, a breath. The emperor's own thoughts fray at the edges, invaded by a memory not his own, a nameless horizon, a tide of shadow with no shore. What if his sacrifice was never meant to save humanity? What if it was a delay? The Imperium's dogma crumbles here in the dark between breaths. The emperor is no god. He is a wound, a stitch in the fabric of reality, holding back the unlight. And every prayer, every martyr's death, every child born to the Starsenly feeds the thing he swears to cage. The throne hums, the stars burn. The entity waits. And if you think this is unsettling, consider this. What if the Primarchs were never meant to walk as men? Next week, we ask if the Emperor's mind imprisons a force older than the stars, a truth that might shatter the faith you cling to. Until then, the silence deepens. The Imperium calls it the void. The Ordo Xenos avoids the term. Why suppress a prison if the prisoner is already dead? The Emperor's silence grows louder each age. The Astronomican's light demands fuel bodies, minds, hope. What if that light isn't guidance but a seal? A desperate counterweight to a force that predates even the dark age of mutation. The throne's hum is not machinery, it is a dirge. The stars burn because they must, the entity waits. What if the Emperor's silence is not absence, but a scream muffled by chains? You think this theory heresy? Then why does the Inquisition still burn the heresiarch who first asked these questions? Share your doubts, defend the